Hi, and welcome to our How Emotions Affect Our Health workshop here at Chiropractic for Kids and Families. My name is Megan Tillotson, and I've been working as a CA for Dr. Bill and Dr. Daniel for a couple years now, as well as I've also taken courses in emotion code and psychology, and worked with various different professionals and practitioners in different emotional modalities and professions, and not to mention my own, personal and professional experience working here at the office and other places. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first of all, what even is an emotion? If you look it up, got it written right here: a natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. Excuse me. So basically that just kind of gives us a baseline to know what it is that we're working with. And most people would agree that emotions have some sort of effect on our bodies. We've all experienced the different sensations that come with emotions. I've written a few here, like your face turning red when you're embarrassed, or your stomach tightening, or not being able to eat when you feel anxious. And even, happy emotions, the automatic facial reflex of smiling, and tears of joy or sadness. And most of us even have either ourselves or witnessed, a loved one or someone else experience even more intense physical reactions to different emotions. People completely seizing up and not being able to move, feeling, getting a fever or different things from just stress or new developments in life. And then also, so basically emotions, it's your body responds to the way that you think, feel, and act, kind of part of that mind-body connection. When you're stressed, anxious, or upset, your body reacts in a way that might tell you that something isn't right. For example, you might develop high blood pressure or a stomach ulcer after a particularly stressful event, such as the death of a loved one. And I think even as I've worked with other doctors and different things in my own experience, and people, they all admit and know that emotions play a part in it. That's just not necessarily what they are there to do to help you. For example, when I would go to my GI doctors or different things like that, and I would bring up questions about emotions and how they affected me and others, they said, oh yeah, that definitely plays a role. That's why when you go to the hospital or different things, they ask what's been going on in your life, because they know emotions play a part in it, but they also are there, for whatever is going on with your body, and they're treating that reaction that you've had. But that also, let's just kind of explain a little bit about emotions. We went into the definition, but there's different parts and areas of your brain that kind of are in charge of emotion. The neocortex, or the rational brain, that's your rational thinking, language, imagination, and ideas, which also play a part in emotion. Your limbic system, or emotional brain, that's really where most things happen when it comes to emotions. But they have to do with your feelings, habits, memories. Then you have your reptilian brain, which is just your instincts, which, believe it or not, emotions come from just instinct as well. You see a snake in the grass, you feel fear, and whether that's the reptilian brain or because of a memory you've had with seeing a snake before. It has to do with those reactions, your memories, and it's tied in with your, autonomic nervous system. There's definitely physiological responses that happen, and different neural pathways depending on what emotion you're feeling that, like I said, create physical responses such as smiling or crying. But really, our brain is the main central area, and then from there it's connected to different places and things. And most of this is actually, our body's way of protecting us. Emotions are there to help us connect with others, but also to help us fight off whatever danger might be there. And so whether that's conscious or sometimes subconscious, because our subconscious remembers everything that's happened in our life. It's there to protect us. Sometimes our emotions are more from that subconscious area of the brain, or just without us even realizing it, these areas are all working together, reacting to different stimuli, and creating emotion. And obviously, depending on whether you're a neuroscientist or in some other field, there is some debate as to whether, emotions are purely thought, purely physical, purely cognitive. So basically, gonna get into all this, show you a few things, but we are definitely complex beings, and there's definitely a lot going on. But the more we can learn to work with our body and to use, those triggers that it gives us, those emotions that it gives us, and work with them instead of against them, I think we'll be better. I think so many of us are afraid of our emotions, including me, and so we just kind of let them happen, let them do their thing, kind of ignore them, and don't realize what role it's playing, and especially what role it's playing in our health. For me, I think of health as a whole. These different areas: physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, social, and then, created them like this to show that they all overlap, they all come together. And I think sometimes when we think about health, we're like, oh, eating right, diet, exercise, that's right what we go to, which is great and good and will help your emotional health because they're all connected. But I think many times it's harder for us to scrutinize the other areas or to delve a little bit deeper into them and realize that they may be playing a part in what we're feeling. So I think that's really important, to remember that it's all connected, and really our emotions actually play a big part in our immune system. Stress, emotions, those things play a big part in our immune system. You've probably realized in your own life or in someone else's that when they were going through an emotional period, it was easier for them to get a cold or to have issues like that. And that definitely is because emotions, part of that nervous system, autonomic nervous system, part of just, our whole body, our whole health, because they're created in our bodies, and those sensations definitely plays a piece in the immune system. As well as another thing to just consider when your emotional health isn't as healthy, or you're feeling down or things like that, how much more likely are you to not pay attention or do the best things you can for your physical health? I know that's definitely for me. When I'm feeling sad, I want the ice cream, I want the, the sugar, the fats. I'm a lot more likely to do that, as well as some are more likely to, maybe drink more heavily or use tobacco or drugs to help to alleviate that stimuli. And that kind of goes into our next slide, talking about how it's all connected. So the psychological or emotional pain can also contribute to actually the sensation of physical pain. And obviously they're different, but there is research that shows that both types of pain, have neurological similarities. And so they're linked to that, if you remember that last slide or a few slides ago, the prefrontal cortex and our brain, they're both processed in the brain and have, neurological similarities. And so some researchers argue that rather than viewing emotional pain and physical pain as like fundamentally different, seeing them more as a whole. And obviously there's some pain that's purely physical and some pain that's purely emotional, but I think the line between those pains is actually, thinner than maybe believed in the past. Hopefully you're able to see this slide. Kind of just mentioned some things that are typically associated or some symptoms you may have when you're experiencing emotional pain: diarrhea, dizziness, headache, muscle pain, particularly in the neck, nausea, pain in the arms and legs, stomach or gastrointestinal upset, and then some other things that might be going on or things to look out for yourself or for others, those that you loved. Addictive behaviors, risky behaviors, aggression and violence, maybe, overuse or abuse of, alcohol or other substances. And really why these are kind of some of those, help us pinpoint some of those things. Really, the behaviors are there to attempt to diffuse or escape the dysphoria caused by emotional pain. So that emotional pain is real, and most of us oftentimes are trying to escape it rather than embrace it. And this is just a more visual slide to show you what can happen if you let chronic stress or negative emotions affect your body. For instance, the mouth ulcers, dryness, and even speech impediments can be affected by chronic stress. The heart: excessive adrenaline and cortisol production from negative emotions and stress can lead to hypertension, cardiovascular disease, putting a strain on your heart. And the digestive tract, I have, personal experience with. When you are feeling certain emotions or you're constantly in that fight or flight stage, your body is not digesting. It's not focused on that area. It's focused on keeping you safe from the other pain and stress that you're feeling. So this here says, negative emotions keep the body in stress mode, directing blood flow away from digestion. This can lead to digestive disorders like indigestion, IBS, and excess acid causing heartburn and even ulcers. So feel free to take a screenshot of any of these, kind of just showing you some of the ways that emotions can affect our body, and especially chronic emotions. So if you tend to feel something chronically, or maybe something from your past that you never really dealt with, and really the idea that emotions affect different parts of the body is actually a very ancient concept. Eastern Chinese medicine has always believed that certain emotions are tied to certain areas or systems of the body. So this is just to kind of show you a little bit about that. Obviously, diving deeper into that is a really cool conversation, but I'll just kind of give you the basics, and you can kind of see that like the heart and small intestine, hate and cruelty and impatience. You know, the lung, skin, and large intestine, sadness and depression. Physical symptoms, breathing problems, decreased oxygen in the blood, constipation. I'm sorry, I didn't read the physical problems for the heart and small intestine. Heart palpitations, high blood pressure, chest pains. So they believe that particular emotions, like I said, are tied to particular parts of the body. And if you're using one part of your body or having that emotion constantly, then the other parts of your body can suffer, as well as that emotion tied to that certain part of your body can as well. It's kind of a balance of chi. If you've ever heard the word chi, for them it's just kind of the energy in the body. And really so much of what they've learned and studied is so cool, and even other things that I won't get into. But another concept is the idea that we're electromagnetical beings, and that emotions vibrate at different frequencies. And depending on what emotion you're feeling, that is where your body is at. So for instance, when you're feeling gratitude or, you know, enlightenment, love, delight, all of those things, you're vibrating at a higher frequency. You're feeling, you know, it's like a high. It feels good. Whereas down, you know, in the bottom, grief, guilt, and even shame, I think there's a reason why we say someone was feeling so low, because really they were feeling down. They were vibrating at such a low frequency. And of course, the belief there is too that different emotions can get trapped in different parts of the body, and be vibrating at those different frequencies, which don't either help or don't help that particular area of the body, which again can, if left there for a long time, can cause disorder in the body. I have an aunt who's really gotten into this, and she explained it to me to think of our bodies as a computer, and that when we have emotions that we haven't fully processed or are constantly vibrating within us, that it's kind of like having too many tabs and things open on, you know, your smartphone or your computer. And so by clearing those out, you kind of just allow things to run a little more smoothly, by clearing out those emotions. Now, whatever you believe about Chinese medicine or you know, the vibrations or anything like that, you know, modern science has done some research looking into this as well. So here they used different trackers, different ways to determine when someone was feeling something, where they felt it more. The darker colors are where it was more felt. The lighter colors are where it was not felt as much. So like anger, you can see that it definitely affected the liver highly, and then a little bit also the spleen and lungs and heart. Sadness very much in the lungs, but then also the heart as well. So kind of just an interesting way to figure things out, and their kind of conclusion of findings was that different emotions do affect different parts of the body, but that it's typically in, you know, medical terms and stuff like that, just described as stress, which emotions can be stressful, good, bad, whatever. Now this one's also interesting because they used people from multiple backgrounds, cultures, countries, ethnicities to do this study, and so it was really showing, and this is showing the bluer colors are loss of sensation, the red and yellow colors are increase in sensation in those different areas. And it also was cool because in their findings, like I said, since they used people from all different areas, they were able to conclude that we all feel things, you know, or have the same sensations, relatively the same throughout different cultures, which is really cool to realize and understand, and also makes sense because emotions, like I've kind of mentioned slightly, is they are there to actually protect us, and a lot of people believe they came from, you know, survival mechanisms, and that can even be used in today's world where we're not, you know, necessarily like out foraging for our food, you know, survival mechanisms even just in social situations. So really, the more we work with our emotions and understand why we're having them, is really cool. And then just a couple of thoughts. You're welcome to take a picture of this quote from Albert Einstein. I thought it was really cool, but just for time's sake, I'll kind of blow through this slide. But one thing to mention, at a seminar I was at for Dr. Dean DePice, he said, feelings are never right and feelings are never wrong. They are there to be understood. And I think that's so important. That really resonated with me personally. And this is just some things, again, you can take a screenshot of it, I'll get out of the way, of just ways that you can help improve that emotional health if you've noticed that you're struggling, or you know that you're someone who doesn't usually allow yourself to feel things that actually, you know, there's one of two things that can happen. You go numb, or the feelings and warnings try and get louder, which then you're just reacting to everything, right? And I've definitely noticed both of those in my life, the numbness and also the over, you know, reaction. So working with your emotions, I'd love to go through all of these because I actually have had experience with all of these, some more than others. But I definitely know even when I was having physical pains and symptoms, by improving my emotional health, I was able to cut my symptoms in half. And I mean that literally. I won't tell you what the symptoms were because they're not pretty, but it was something that I could definitely track. And it was pretty crazy how much of a difference it made. And even when I would go in pretty regularly to have my like inflammation tested, and I remember specifically having it tested and then going and working with my aunt who helped me to work through emotions, and then having it tested again, the doctors were like blown away because they couldn't explain how it had been so high just, you know, before the weekend, and then after the weekend and not. So all of these are really important, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least point out one that means a lot to me, which they all are awesome. And I hope not to offend anyone, but for me, I do think that working with Christ and God was a big part of my my healing and emotional healing as well. And so I definitely think if you're in that realm, to use him, he can help you. As well as many other modalities and aspects If you have any questions about any of them, potentially I can do another video that kind of delves deeper into some of these areas, or just little things that you can do, like tapping or other things. Just because we all want to be happy, we all want to feel good, we all pretend we are anyways, and I think a lot of times we are, but I think it means a lot to us. And I think the more that we can be open and realize, hey, I'm having this emotion and that's okay, and allow yourself to feel it, and then to realize maybe why you're having it. So if there's a new, neurological pathway you can create when that specific event happens, I think that's really cool and important. So thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys have a great day.